Sorry about that, guys. This is the second week in a row that I've had that happen to me. My battery actually just died on my computer in the middle of that, so I'm gonna go ahead and I guess we're gonna have 7B this week. So you guys are getting really lucky these last 2 weeks, it looks like. So anyway, I was just about to say that after I discovered that Stephen had been to Casey's ride, it was also when I was looking around that section of the library that I noticed someone else had been between the two long computer tables. There's this big old blood stain there. It was very, very strange to look at because it wasn't red like I was used to blood being. It was this dark brownish, blackish stain, and it was so thick, so it was just so thick it actually stood up off the carpet, probably about a full quarter inch, half inch. It was just the strangest thing I'd seen, and there's a name tag next to that big blood puddle. It was Kyle Velasquez, and it was just weird seeing that and seeing the blood stains everywhere and everything. It was just like, even though I'd just been in there a month and a half before and what I'd lived through, it was just still strange actually looking around in there, seeing all the damage done, because it the best way I can describe it is that it felt like being on a movie set. 'Cause it just didn't, none of it felt real at all. And Mom was in there with me, and she was about to start wandering around the library herself, and then she was about to start wandering around the back part of the library, and she felt like something was stopping her from going over to this other part of the back section of the library, and she just happened to look at the deputy and asked if that was where Eric and Dylan shot themselves, and the guy said yes. And so neither of us went over there, so I couldn't tell you what those stains looked like or anything. I didn't look over there. I did see the tags where Matt and Isaiah were, and I saw the bloodstains there, and I just detailed with the sheriff, with the deputy. I was under this table at first, and went over to the long computer table, and then I showed him the office that I went into after the shooting, and then down the hallway, out the emergency exit, and Mom and I both kind of just looked out through the window of the door through the emergency exit. I pointed out, yeah, we were over on that hill over there behind the police car, and Mom would say later that she cried for 3 days afterwards because when I told her I'd been in the library and that I was hiding, she had thought that that meant that I was away from it all, that I was tucked away somewhere safe. But when she saw that I was actually literally in the middle of the worst of it, yeah, she cried for 3 days straight. Although I don't remember seeing her doing any actual crying. She says she did, so I'll just believe her on that, because I have no reason not to believe her on that, because I imagine I'd probably do the same if I was in her situation. Although I also admit that 15 years on, I've still not actually cried over the shooting itself. I don't know if part of me is just still in disbelief over it or what, but I've never actually cried over the shooting itself. I've cried during panic attacks, but I've never cried over the fact that, oh my god, this thing actually happens. That actually hasn't happened. And there's one other thing I just remembered. I remember it was probably, I want to say, a month or two after the shooting. One of our cousins was over. He was a couple years younger than my little brother, and me and Joe and my little brother and my cousin were all in the living room. I'm watching them play. I think it's a first person shooter. I don't remember. Me and Joe were just staying there. We're watching my little brother and my cousin play this game, and my cousin turns to me and he's like, "Hey Mandy, is this what it was like at your school?" And Joe, he got so mad. Oh, he was so PO'd. He immediately turned off the game right then and there, and marched everyone up to the video study to go ahead and return that game right then and there. So I was kind of, I mean, I wasn't really offended at what my cousin had said. I was more amused that, well, I don't know if amused is the word. I just kind of found it impressive that Joe got that offended at what my cousin had said, that he actually went and returned the game right then and there. And I actually brought up that incident with my little brother probably only a few months ago, because my memory told me that he was the one who'd said that, and he's like, "Oh no, that was not me. That was the cousin. I'm not gonna name my cousin, but he was like, yeah, that was my cousin. I would never have said that." And it's like, okay. So there was that, and then let's see, let's see. During the summer, my aunt Renee, dad's sister, well, before I get into that, something else just sprung up in my memory here. I remember for a few months after the shooting, mom she would just snap at me and my little brother for no reason. Like every time we did anything wrong or nothing wrong at all, she would just snap at us and yell at us. And part of me was thinking, I don't remember if I was thinking it sarcastically or if I was thinking it seriously, but I was thinking, I did not survive the shooting just to get yelled at all the time. So I know now, looking back, I probably can't really blame mom for being jumpy and yelling at us all the time. But with me still being in shock from the shooting, I guess I just didn't want to deal with getting yelled at when I just survived narrowly escaping being shot. So there was that. And when we get back to my aunt Renee, she offered to just to help me and my little brother get away from everything for a little while. She had volunteered to have us come up to her house up in Anchorage for a few weeks. And as mentioned in my first video, me and my little brother were actually born up there, and I hadn't been back up there since I was 4 years old. So mom was like, okay, you can go ahead and have him for 3 weeks. And so me and my little brother, we packed up. Mom sent us off at DIA, and we had to stop over in Seattle where some flight attendants watched over us for a little bit until our connecting flight arrived. And then we got up to Anchorage, where Renee came and she picked us up, took us over to her house, showed me the hospital where I was born because she only lived like 2 blocks from that hospital. And it was really, my time up in Alaska was really strange because well, it was summer, so, and of course up in Anchorage they're closer to the Arctic Circle, so the sun sets a lot later there. And actually the whole time I was up there, I actually don't remember the sun. I don't remember it really getting dark at all. I remember it even at 11:30 at night, it still looked like it was just sunset. So it definitely messed with my body clock. So I would incidentally sleep till like noon all the time. And I got to know me and my little brother, we got to know two of our cousins, Renee's kids, a little bit better. Timmy, he was 5 at the time, and even I admit now, he was a handful to look after because he was spoiled, to be frank. And my other little cousin Haley, she was only 1 at the time, but so she was just a baby, so she would not really anything to say about her there. Just Timmy was just spoiled, so he'd throw tantrums and stuff, and I had to help with him sometimes. And there was one time where my brother lost his temper and hit him on the back, and Renee did get upset at him for that, and I can't really blame her for that. But yeah, we'd sleep in Timmy's bedroom. Timmy had bunk beds, and I would be on the top bunk. And Renee showed us this anime store in Anchorage called Bosco's, and compared to anything in Colorado, Bosco's was a wonderland because it had so much more anime stuff than any of the places in Denver did. So me and Josh were always happy to go there practically every day just to look at the selection of CDs and comics and videos and everything they had. And that was actually when I very first got introduced to Key the Metal Idol, which is still one of my favorite anime to this day. I haven't watched it in a long time now, but that was my first introduction to that. And I remember there's this other store in one of the malls in Alaska that had a lot of anime stuff as well. So, like I said, I was like a kid in a candy store at these stores compared to anything in Colorado. And also, there's this one town in Alaska, I believe it's called the North Pole, where it's pretty much just Christmas stuff all year round. So Renee and her family and us, we all packed up into their trailer. We drove up to North Pole, looked at all the Christmas stuff there, drove up through all the way up to Fairbanks, which is like halfway up through Alaska. So it's quite a ways up there. And we also went up to Chena Hot Springs, which is a little bit north of Fairbanks. It's actually the northernmost natural sulfur hot springs in North America. So I got to soak in there for a while. And it's the only time I've ever been to a natural hot springs, but it felt so wonderful. I could just sit in the tub, I just soak up to my neck, and I just didn't want to get out of there. It just felt so nice. And yeah, we that road trip was probably about a week round trip, and we spent a lot of time playing video games, and Renee would tell me her life story and stuff. And we're actually up there during the 4th of July, and I was sitting on the couch inside, and I heard a firecracker start going off outside, and I had this reaction that I had not been expecting. I mean, of course, I knew it was the Fourth of July, of course, but hearing these popping noises outside, I just started spazzing out a little bit, and Renee saw me had this freak out on the couch, and she immediately ran outside and told the kids outside to cut it out, and I heard the popping stop after that, and I apologized, but she apologized even more because I think she said she should have known that I would have that reaction, but even I didn't know I was going to have that reaction. But I also remember, yeah, that was probably one of my first real panic attacks. Although my first true one didn't actually come until a night or two before me and my little brother came back down to Colorado. I believe we just watched Mulan in Timmy's bedroom, and I'm laying there in the top bunk, and just for no reason at all, I just start feeling this tightness in my chest. I can't breathe. I'm laying there trying to get a hold of myself, and I recognized immediately that it was a panic attack, but I didn't know what to do about it. I was scared, really, and all I could do was just lay there and just write it out. And then the next morning, I think I woke up having another one, and it was like 5:30 in the morning. And I was definitely awake then. So I just climbed down from the top bunk, went out to the living room, turned on Cartoon Network. Captain Planet, an old repeat of Captain Planet was on, so I just laid there on the living room floor and just zoned out while watching Captain Planet. Just do something to take my mind off of what was going on with my body. And like I said, that was when I that was when I had my first panic attacks. And 15 years later, how I deal with them has not really changed. It's pretty much the same thing. I get the tight chest, I get the can't breathe feeling, my body gets heavy, I get hot, my mind is just in a completely different dimension, and all I can do is pretty much just write it out. I can't really do anything to stop it or anything once it starts. And sometimes it'll be 5 minutes, sometimes it'll be an hour, but it always drains me every single time. And yeah, so there's that. There is something else that started happening right after I got back from Alaska, and that'll probably take up the entirety of my next video. I'm not going to get into it this time because I'm coming up on my 15-minute limit now for YouTube. I'll go ahead and get into it next week. It's not going to be a pleasant subject for me to bring up, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because it was a major part of my life the next 3 years afterwards. And anyone who knows me personally is going to know what I'm going to be getting into. So some of you who've had experience getting molested or sexually abused might want to skip the next video, but I'm going to go ahead and get into all of that next week, guys. Once again, I do want to thank you very, very much for sticking with me through this series so far, and next week I'll cover a little bit more about what happened in my life after the shooting, and I will go ahead and yeah, I'll go ahead and cover that next week. So I'll go ahead and see you guys then. All right, thank you. Bye.